Cradle, Dogs of Fount, Chapter 7. He thought the night came sooner than he imagined. He traveled over 200 miles through the eastern forest on a motorcycle, a short hop in an NS-17, out and over the tip of the ocean and back towards Philly. Then, from the elaborate camp system Gidab, he walked 10 miles to Camp Eros. The stars had been brighter ever since the bomb dropped, knocking out what little light pollution the heat caused before. A backlit cloud cluster glowed almost purple, and it made him feel at ease. There was a small campfire in front of the watch's tent, and a few warriors were sitting in silence, smoking cigarettes. Nate wanted to ask for one, but decided not to. He had to get this over with. He knew he needed her for other reasons, but he also needed her because she was the only other person he trusted with such a dangerous mission. Heather, predictably, had avoided him ever since the fight. Nate didn't even message her after a few days passed, but it was time to settle this. She's tough, but I'm tougher, he thought, trying to convince himself. He was mostly sure that when he saw her tent, that he wouldn't hesitate to go in and get her back, if only as backup. However, when he saw her tent, he stopped and noticed the interest flap flipping back and forth in the light wind. She had her LED lamp turned down to match the color of the stars above, though probably not purposely. Nate made the turn to get another cigarette, but he couldn't allow himself to be a coward. He tried to shape his hair the best he could and entered her tent without a warning for benefit. She stared at him coldly and didn't attempt to speak for a moment. "Heather, I'm not mad at you." He waited for her to say something, but she continued staring in silence. "You know, you're the one that cheated on me. You should be apologizing to me." He didn't want to get too loud, so he bit his lip and took a breath. Suddenly, a smirk crossed his face, and he sat on a crate in front of the lamp and crossed his legs. "You may be wondering what I want. Well, since you're so refined and above it, you'd make a perfect spy. That cold, calculating demeanor you have." He grinned further. "You in?" She was smoldering, and Nate was sure she was going to lunge at him. "Get out of my tent. I don't need to explain myself to you." "You know what? You do. You at least owe me that," Nate said. Heather huffed and crossed her legs the other way on top of her cot. "I fell out of love with you." "Why?" "I don't know," she said without thinking. "Is it because he's in better shape than me?" Heather bit her lip and shook her head in disgust. "See? That's the problem. That's why I want it out." "I'm not jealous. That's not what I meant," she snapped. "Spit it out then." Nate was starting to get bored. He didn't want to get into reasons and emotions. He just wanted her to stop being so damn dramatic and give it up. "You're a coward. You act tough, but you're scared." Nate's flesh flashed with heat, and he had to quell an insult before it got him in deeper trouble. "Sorry, babe. Bad read." "Really?" "Really." "Okay," she said, and then chuckled as she brushed her shiny, wavy, sexy black locks of hair away from her eyes. "Remember when I made you dinner in our tent in Vander? You had been complaining for weeks that you hadn't had a complete hot meal in a year." Nate gestured for her to go on, but he knew he was on thin ice in this argument. Her theme was getting clearer by the second. "I made you a meal exactly how your mother made it, back in Fount, because you had told me about those times on 100 different occasions since I've known you. You ate it, and you almost got choked up. You didn't think I saw you, but I did." "So?" "Okay. And just to test you, and it was the first time in a long time I said, 'I love you, Nate.' You nodded and buried your face in the plate. 'You're a coward. I know you love me, but you're insecure. Craig has known me for 3 months and has no problem saying it." Nate nodded and smiled at her. "You know where I could get a cigarette?" "Really, Nate? What are you doing here? What do you want?" "Let me get a cigarette and I'll tell you when I get back." He left the tent in one motion and looked at his hands trembling in the starlight. He was about to say it. He wanted to say it more than he ever did before. He was so angry that she could break him down like that. She didn't have to be so damn brutal. Doesn't she know how men are? He got a cigarette from someone by the fire in front of the camp where he entered. Once back in her tent, he was smooth and composed again, and he lit his cigarette thoughtfully, if only acting just a bit. I got us a spy mission. Don't care. He smirked, and Fount. Her eyes widened, and she had to look away. Nate continued, we will get the best disguises, as much credit as we need, and we can strike a blow to FaithNet and Fount once we get the intel. He stood up and sat on the foot of her cot. She rolled her eyes. Heather, I don't trust anyone else, and Hobbs wants you to go too. She sat in silence, not trying to avoid looking at Nate, but staring off while she thought. Then she looked at him with no expression, and Nate didn't know what to say. So, do you want to come with me? That's not all you want, Nate. Nate lifted his leg. Prrft. Heather laughed in a bark and covered her mouth. After a moment, she composed herself and looked past Nate. You're telling me you don't miss that? Nate said, grabbing her boot and shaking her whole leg. She pulled her leg away in disgust and scooted further away. Give me till morning to make up my mind, she said and pointed towards the tent's flap. Where am I supposed to sleep? Nate whined. She bent at the elbow and thrusted a pointed finger again emphatically. Nate knew he had her again, if only for this mission.